So, brother, let's talk about being street smart, right? Let's be honest, right? Book smart versus street smart. This is a question that people have been asking for ages. Now, looking at it, right? Looking at my life, I come to realize that street smart basically means practical intelligence. You see, book smart will give you ideas of how the world should be. Street smart will show you how the world is. Booksmart doesn't give you ideas on how to escape consequences because, again, it's books. It only accounts for a percentage of reality. Street Smart will tell you, bro, this is the real deal. Cut the fluff. Because let's be honest, most of the things that you learn through books are worthless. What I mean worthless is you will never experience most of the things you read through the books. But Street Smart, you see, you begin to connect the dots together. Because one thing Street Smart gives to you is awareness. Now, one thing, this is it. If you follow my story, if you've been following my story, you get to realize that I grew up in a world of comfort, in a world of, shall I say, I was shielded from the entire world. But one thing I came to realize is when my father put me in his business, I came to realize that everybody is out there to get you. Everybody, when I mean everybody, is 80% of the people out there are out to get you. They're acting solely based on their own personal interest. Your interest comes last or never comes at all. You see, that reminds me, Book Smart will tell you this is how women want to be treated. Street Smart will show you this is how women actually are being treated and how they love it. That's why whenever guys say, this is what women want, this is what women say, this is what women do. Street Smart will tell you, bro, this is reality. This is ideology. Whenever people come with these fresh ideas, and I'm like, have you guys not seen that this is not the case in real life? Because again, Booksmart would guarantee that, okay, this is what they say it is. Street Smart will tell you, no, this is what it is. So the first thing I learned about being street smart is everybody's out there to get you. Maybe not physical violence, but psychologically. Now these days, what? Scammers on all levels. If AI has multiplied the scams at different levels. You see people scam at the cost level, people are scamming for the sake of scamming. But bro, it's crazy. And I remember a few stories recently, right? That came to my head about how people see me as this, I grew up in comfort. So guess what? It's easy to scam me. I remember when I was tasked with selling a particular property, and I was at the age of 22. Now in Africa, they believe that when you're young, again, I was positioned to be the owner's son. So because I was the owner's son, people believe that they can easily lowball me. What that means is, you can give me an offer and I should take it or leave it. But because I was book smart and I was exposed to how the fact that these guys are just trying to scam me, what I did was, again, practical psychology, understood their intention and used it against them. The trick is simple. Whenever they try to lowball me, I simply look for somebody else. I simply remind them that there is somebody else who is out here to get the same property. And I don't do that as a threatening way because, again, being on the streets teaches you how to control your ego. So if you're telling somebody there's somebody else for this property, you're not bragging about it. For example, someone tells me this property goes for 250 and says, I'm giving you 240. I'm like, okay, well, no problems. So as I'm walking away, they may be asking me what's my rebuttal. I tell them, I'm sorry. Somebody has already offered me 270. It makes no sense. If you're telling me 240, it means you don't know the value of the property. And I understand. I'm walking away, right? Either my friend is making a call to tell me that okay, he wants to buy it at 280. And now they're telling me 285. But the point is, I was able to play their game back to them. There was not a single soul who came to me and said, let's go for 250. No, everybody always tried to lowball me. Again, it's the same thing. The trick is to reduce the value of the property. But because I was street smart, I was able to reverse it by making them realize that there are more people that want this property than you and who are willing to pay more money. Sometimes I would even say, well, I'm sorry, I think the person who offered this amount is already with the lawyer. Guess what? They'll top the amount. The irony is that property was initially put on the market for 250. We sold it for 300 while I was 22. Mind you, I don't say this to brag because I say this because ironically, it's all happened because of street smart and book smart. Street smart and book smart. Another thing that being on the street has made me realize is what I'll call practical psychology to detect the intentions of people. Because people don't really have your interest at heart. They have theirs first. And some people have this intention that I want this guy to lose. And now, when it comes to me negotiating, right, I believe in win situation. I don't believe in win-lose now. The only time, I'm not entirely sure I've ever had any win-lose situation. I always believe in win. And the reason I believe in win-win isn't because of weakness. It's because my father made me realize that when you're dealing with people, focus on relationships. So it's more about a virtue, a value my father instilled in me. Again, shout out to my father, and I would always respect him no matter what. Again, being street smart will give you practical psychology. Then one other thing I've seen about street smart doing is if you are street smart, you get to observe patterns of life, philosophy of life. Again, because you have real life experiences. I've also come to realize that people who have book smart experiences or people who are locked in the idea of book smart, a lot of them are struggling outside in real life. A typical example is a tech bro. Most tech bros, outside of the technology, they are fucked. They are completely fucked. They rely on technology or they rely on tech on looking at things from a technical aspect to live life. But guess what? There is relationships. There are people. So being on the street will make you realize how people think, how people act. Right? Knowing fully well that if you observe the streets very well, there are always patterns. There are always things that you see about people. Again, when you're on the streets, it's easy for you to detect somebody who is fake. So recently, right, one guy from the streets who I know very well, he lives in a very funny area, a very cheap area, but drives a very flashy car. And when I asked him, I came to realize that he says that this is what he says. Again, this was like years back. Very street smart guy. He says that he goes to clients' places, right, to fulfill his business order. And one thing is, whenever they see his car, again, this is what books never tell you. Whenever they see his car, guess what? They know that this is not somebody you deal with. This is somebody who is already rich. So guess what? People don't lowball him. People see him as rich already. So guess what? Whenever he charges a higher price, there is barely arguments. But if he goes there with a cab, they've already downgraded him. That is street smart. He has realized that people focus a lot on looks. How people perceive you. Street smart will make you be okay. Again, this is it. Book smart will tell you to be valuable, be valuable, be valuable. Street smart will tell you instead of being valuable, why don't you look valuable? But truth be told, you need the two of them because in this context, if you just look valuable and you cannot back it up, guess what? It's a matter of time. This is why I tell people that it's not enough that you look the part. You must actually be the part. So when you're on the street and you begin to observe, because I have different situations where so a story came to mind right now, right? Where my dad, before he passed, he had a business that blew up. So we had some like residual copper elements in the business. So he sold some, right? Now he had passed. I'm the one now in charge of selling them. So the people who he used to do business with, much more older, they met me a couple of times. When I called them, the first thing tried to lowball me, right? But what I did was I first of all got the market price from them. The market price from them. Step one. Step two, I looked for other buyers. Because heck, these guys already see me as a fool already, so there's no need calling them again. So I got other buyers. Something interesting happened. Again, I grew up in Nigeria where everybody is out there to scam you. So you not being street smart, you're fucked up. Billionaires who are book smart, who inherited wealth, you can hear how much scams. Again, scam in Nigeria happens at every single level. At the street level, corporate level. Heck, a lot of international investors get scammed. So I'm even thinking of even opening a business along those lines about detecting scammers in Nigeria and how to make profits from it. So what happened? So yes, these two guys came around. One could speak English and the other was always quiet. Now he was always quiet, never spoke anything. When we came to do the business, right, we agreed on a price. First of all, lowball me, take the price up, right, to a decent price where it's a win-win situation. So this guy came up when he realized that when it came to price, I had the advantage, right? Because he saw that he had evidence that I was selling to other people before. So for me to sell to him, he has to outbid the previous buyers. Man, the previous buyers were already lowballed me, but because he saw that I had sold already, he had to step up his game. So his plan was to then the next thing happened was after we agreed on the price, time to weigh the elements. I didn't believe the weight I was seeing there. I didn't believe it. So I now brought out my own scale. First of all, he didn't believe I had a scale. Wrong move. I weighed it. He kept on disagreeing with me, saying that it doesn't make sense. My scale is wrong. I said, okay. I brought out a different scale, 4 different scales. Then it dawned on me that instead of arguing like that, why don't you show him how his own scale is wrong? So when I showed him how his scale was wrong, he then acted like it was a mistake. No problems. What got interesting was the second day of the deal, because the deal was pretty large. The second day of the deal, this guy was nowhere to be found. When I asked the second guy, what's up? I discovered that the second guy does not speak English. He speaks French. So you have to bring another interpreter. So after digging deep, what I realized was the goal of this guy was to lowball me and sell to this other guy who is the real buyer at a higher price. But because of I already matched the price to a point where he could not lowball me and he could not cheat me, he wanted the guy to deal with me directly. And again, because of what? He assumed I was what? I was not street smart. He assumed that he could cheat me. See, the whole truth is that when you have been on the street, you see it all. When you have been on the street, you can identify people's intentions quick because there would always be signs. Again, because you have been, again, how to become street smart? Expose yourself to people. Try to figure out people's intention. Don't struggle. Don't, again, when you see it, don't argue with it. Because I see a lot of people saying, no, it can't be true. People can't be this wicked. Bro, no one gives two fucks. The people out there, some people are there to get, most people are out there to get you, or at least they have your intentions at the last, which is a good thing to realize because it's easier for you to not get scammed. So whenever somebody comes again and offers you something that you feel like is gold, guess what? It's true to tell you that that's glitter. Did you earn the gold? Did you work for the gold? Again, I have been scammed a lot. I have unlimited scam stories. One thing that, like I said, one thing I realized is my father exposing me to people that he did business with. Mind you, he did business with people on the streets. He has employed people on the street. So I've interacted with them. I know how they think. I know how they talk. Because they would always be silent. Now, one thing I've come to realize is from the streets comes creativity, right? Because, like I said, the books give you a perspective to life, right? Imagine the books gives you about 70% of life, practicality. Sorry, theory. The streets gives you the nuances, the practicality of things. That's why people who are street are book smart. A typical example is 50 Cent, right? Because again, that's the most popular that comes to my mind. Again, sorry, Andrew Tate comes to my mind. Yeah, Andrew Tate. Because if you don't understand what Andrew Tate is doing, people will keep bashing him no matter what. But he's already book smart. He has showed his book smart if you pay attention to him. Now, his street smartness comes in a way of trying to get attention from people. Andrew Tate knows what to say to get your attention. He knows what to say to get the attention of what? Feminists. He knows how to be extreme. That's what people don't like about him. Yes, he knows that he'll be hated, but he says what? Fuck it. So again, he's street smart. There's a reason he named his project The Real World. Because let's be honest, the street feels to be the real world, the practical world. But the books seems to be the idealistic world. I'll tell you, you need the two of them. Being street smart makes you realize that you need to be humble, tame your ego. Book smart people think they know it all. Book smart people, let me give an example of tech bros. Tech bros think, oh, tech is the way, right? So guess what? They forget what? Being that tech is just one aspect of things. They don't even know that. Not that they forget that. They don't even know that tech is just a fraction of it, and AI is coming for tech. But somebody who's on the street realizes that he's very observing. Because he's observing from the streets, he takes that observation skills into business world and realize that AI is taking over tech. So what should tech bros learn? If I was a street boy, if I was in tech right now, I'll tell people to focus more on the end of solving problems, communication, and persuasion. That means if you can solve people's problems, communicate with them and persuade them. This is what you can do. You can be the one interfacing with customers, taking the money from customers, and guess what? Subcontracting that job to people who would use AI. What that means is you can handle as many jobs. What that means is you can become a project manager. Let's be frank. That's what I've been doing for the past 1 or 2 years. And it's been paying my bills. Paying my bills well. Managing projects, not handling the project. thanks to AI. Again, this is what you get when you're street smart, when you can observe and realize that things are shifting. But book smart, again, most of the things you see in books have been written at least a decade ago. What that means is that the world has most likely evolved, but you are still in denial of it. And being street smart makes you realize that in this world, there are real life consequences. Book smart makes you feel like there are virtual consequences. No, on the streets there are real consequences. So guess what? If you see an urge to want to do things immediately, you see an urge to want to do things correctly. So brother, I've told you several times, I've told you over and over again, you need the both of them. The only way to get street smart is not, again, being street smart is not about exposing yourself to unnecessary risk on the road. Does it happen? Yes, I've almost been stabbed. I've been involved in street fights. You really don't need that. What you need to do is expose yourself to people. My father exposed me to people, and yes, I've been on the street, actually on the real streets, where stories of me almost being stabbed. I've never seen a gun. I have moved late. I moved out late that night. I've come to realize that there's even a story I think I heard about how I was at some point. I'll say I was almost robbed. And this is one thing I learned from somebody, right? Whenever maybe you're at night and it's late and some boys rush you, because again, we had flat tire, some boys came out from nowhere. It was already late, right? Again, what you don't want is for them to rob you. Instead, what you end up doing, one thing we realized was it's just an open space. One, two, it's a space where this is where these guys stay. What that means is if they do anything wrong, they know how to track them. So first things first is when they came around, we pleaded, they kind of realized that they are being hostile. So what do we do? First of all, offer them cigarettes. When they realize that we understand that they may have come with different intentions, but there's really no need for all that. Give them cigarettes, give them money. You know the irony of things? They were the ones securing us. So instead of arguing with them, saying that we don't need them, we don't need their respect, we kind of realize that these guys were not here to rob us. Again, it happens when you understand that. Calm your ego down. Observe. Be fucking observant on the streets. These guys just wanted what? They just wanted money. They may have come with a threatening look. But one thing the street has taught me is, in as much as people don't really have your intentions, it's not every time people are out there to get you on the street. Sometimes people just want to serve themselves. So if you find a way of talking to people's interests, pam, that's good. If you find a way of talking to people's interests, guess what? You become your friends. This is something that I also discovered on the streets. So it will help you a lot when you talk more in people's interest than in your interest. Yep. So that's it basically. My name is Tonore. I'll tell you, be street smart, be book smart. You don't have to survive on the streets, but street smart will help you in surviving. Expose yourself. Obviously, the more you expose yourself, the more you see nuances. Again, let me see. Let me think very very well. Yeah, I think that's it. Expose yourself to as many experiences, to as many people, and guess what? You'll be enough street smart enough. You don't have to intentionally go to a dangerous place. To be very, very frank, sometimes you find yourself in a dangerous place. We have to be prepared for it because the threats are always there. My name is Tonore. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. And bye for now.